I never expected my own family to celebrate my financial ruin, but there we were in a cold office, watching a lawyer hand over everything to my sister. For 5 years, I gave up my career and my sanity to care for our dying father while she lived in luxury. Yet, when the will was read, she inherited every asset. I did not cry. Instead, I smiled and offered a different document. My name is Clara Vance, and at 36 years old, I learned that devotion is rarely rewarded in the ways we anticipate. My entire existence revolved around the needs of my father, Robert, whose health declined rapidly after he turned 70. It started with simple lapses in memory and missed medications, but it quickly grew into a chaotic routine of emergency rooms and constant care. Because I lived nearby, the heavy burden of his daily survival naturally fell upon my shoulders. I managed his complex medical schedule, prepared his meals, and kept his home clean every single weekend. I declined promotions at work, canceled vacations, and watched my personal relationships slowly fade away due to my complete lack of free time. Loving him made the relentless exhaustion bearable, though the physical toll was undeniable. Meanwhile, my younger sister Chloe resided over 1,000 miles away, enjoying a life filled with beach trips and social gatherings. Whenever our father asked about her next visit, she offered endless excuses about busy schedules or expensive flights. Her brief visits occurred maybe once a year, yet my father always defended her absence, claiming she was doing her best. I stayed silent to keep the peace, despite the growing resentment. Over those 5 long years, our extended family began to notice who was actually doing the heavy lifting. Relatives saw me driving Robert to his countless therapy sessions and sitting by his hospital bed during late-night scares. They often whispered that my father was incredibly fortunate to have me around. While I appreciated their kind words, I never expected any form of payment or special recognition for my actions. When my father peacefully departed this world on a quiet autumn morning, I was the one holding his hand. The funeral was a beautiful tribute to his life, filled with stories from old neighbors and friends. But the real tension began 1 week later, when we gathered at a law office to hear the final distribution of his worldly possessions. The atmosphere in that conference room was incredibly heavy. Chloe arrived at the meeting wearing a luxury designer outfit, radiating a level of confidence that seemed entirely out of place. The attorney cleared his throat, opened the thick folder, and began to read the terms of the estate. One by one, the properties, the bank accounts, and the investments were listed. Every single item was designated for Chloe, leaving absolutely nothing for me in the main document. A heavy silence blanketed the room as our relatives turned their heads to watch my reaction, expecting a furious outburst. Across the mahogany table, the lips of Chloe curled into a triumphant smirk. She believed she had won everything, leaving me with years of unpaid labor and empty pockets. Instead of showing anger, I reached into my purse and placed a sealed envelope on the table. I calmly looked at the attorney and explained that our father wished for this specific document to be opened now. The smirk on the face of Chloe instantly vanished, replaced by sudden confusion. The lawyer carefully broke the wax seal and unfolded the letter, noting the distinctive handwriting of Robert. He adjusted his glasses and began to read the message aloud to the silent room. The letter addressed both of us, stating that my lack of inheritance in the will was not a measure of love. Our father acknowledged the immense sacrifices I made over 5 years, noting that I never demanded praise or financial rewards. He wrote that Chloe was loved, but had failed to be present when it mattered most, which brought a deep flush of shame to her face. As the lawyer turned the page, his eyes widened in genuine surprise, and the atmosphere in the room shifted dramatically. The letter revealed that the estate mentioned in the will did not represent the true wealth of our father. 7 years prior, Robert had quietly established a private trust, completely separate from his public estate. This massive trust held major investments and properties that bypassed the probate court entirely. The attorney read the crucial clause stating that the sole trustee and beneficiary of this private trust was Clara Vance. Gasps echoed through the room as my family realized the sheer scale of what had just occurred. Chloe sat frozen, her face pale as she realized her inheritance was only a fraction of the actual family fortune. The legal documents attached to the letter confirmed everything was official. Our father wrote that he structured his legacy this way because wealth requires deep responsibility and proven stewardship. He explained that I spent 5 long years proving I could be trusted with important matters, whereas Chloe only valued easy luxury. The room remained absolutely motionless as the profound wisdom of his final plan settled over everyone. Trust was the ultimate currency, and I had earned it. There were no arguments or shouting matches, only a heavy realization of the truth that could not be denied. Chloe looked at me not with anger, but with a quiet sense of regret for the years she had wasted. I chose not to gloat or celebrate my victory because the money was never my motivation. The true reward was knowing my father saw every sacrifice I made. The meeting ended quietly, and we all walked out of the office into the cool afternoon air with a completely different perspective. My sister walked away with her inheritance, but she also carried the heavy realization of what she had neglected. I walked away with the trust of my father, which felt far more valuable than any bank account. The silent bond we shared during those final years was finally validated. In the end, my sister received a substantial inheritance, but I received something far more valuable than gold. I learned that true devotion leaves a lasting impression, even when we think nobody is watching us. My father taught us that while money can be handed down to anyone, real trust must be earned through action. That understanding is the greatest legacy he could have ever left behind.